Hi, Zach. Welcome. How are you?
Hey, sorry, can you say that one more time? It kind of
Oh,
glitched.
hi. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Thank you.
Well, welcome to our session. And I'm wondering, what brings you to this counseling session?
Yeah. Um, man, I'm feeling very like maxed out right now. I feel like I'm a bit of a yes man. And my family and we've been here in Malawi for 5.5, going on 6 years, and we have three incredible kids. I have two daughters, an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I have a little boy named Zeke, he'll be 2 in August, and the kids are all going full speed. And like 2 weeks ago, poor Miriam, my middle child, my 4-year-old, broke her arm. We were playing outside on
Mm.
the trampoline, and so she went flying and broke her arm. And it just is, I mean, it's nobody's fault. We were just playing. Um, but that kind of came at, right in the middle of the busiest season of the ministry year. That I work with an organization called Young Life. And so I work with high school kids. For me, I work at the international schools, and we've grown so much. Like, there's been so much fruit in the ministry. When I got here, there was zero ministry at the international schools, and now we're at 5 different schools, and the ball is rolling. We are out the gate, and there's leaders that I've kind of handed things off to at different schools, and so things are running. We ran our first, no, our second annual fundraising banquet like 2 weeks ago. And so we're trying to do good. We had like 150 people in the room, excited to hear about what was happening at the different schools. And we've got a camp. So this Friday, in 2 days, I'm going to have a bunch of sixth graders camping in my backyard. And then the next week, I'm taking about 60 high school kids on a weekend camping trip. And then the following week, I'm taking all of my volunteers, so hopefully about 25 or 30 young adults and young professionals, and we're going to go hike Mount Mulanji, which is the third highest peak in, like, standalone peak in Africa. It's the highest point in Malawi. It's over 9,000 feet. And, it's a
Hmm.
beautiful, incredible. And I'm a part of the preaching team at church, and I'm scheduled to preach this coming Sunday. But I'm also a part of this incredible master's program where I'm like studying to be a counselor. And so I have like 4 full-time jobs and 3 children. And I just am like, I don't know.
It sounds like you have a very busy life. Tell me more about how you balance it.
So I think that so fortunately, the counseling program that I'm in is based in the US, and so I can do all of my counseling coursework and connect with my classmates while the Malawi world is asleep.
Mm.
So that works out just logistically. Um, and the preaching team thing, our lead pastor at our church, has just gone on sabbatical. And so the need there has really increased. I very humbly, like, I love teaching. I really feel like it's something the Lord has gifted me in. And um, the preaching team loves to give me open weeks, because it's a gift and I enjoy it and I love it. But it eats in, it takes time to prepare a good sermon, and to kind of fulfill that role. So fortunately, the team has been very good at communicating and flexing. And so I was supposed to preach this current series that we're in. We're preaching through Nehemiah. I was supposed to preach the opening sermon, a sermon in the middle, and the closing sermon. So far, I haven't preached any sermons. And so this one coming up is, and it was a 10-week, no, yeah, it was a 10-week series, um, of which I was going to do three, but I will only this Sunday will be the only one that I preach, and it's the middle one. So it's not the beginning, and I'm not, so the team has really kind of stepped around and supported me because the week where I was supposed to preach is the week my daughter broke her arm. And so they were gracious and kind of flexed and said, hey, we'll fill in. And, so the team has been good. And then with Young Life stuff, again, like just trusting the team has been the only way I can survive. Like, probably like during COVID and like before COVID, I was kind of a one man band. Like
Mm.
I was running ministries at two schools pretty much by myself. And so I would go, I'd hang with kids, I'd meet with administrators, I would do all the grunt work by myself pretty much. And wasn't really until like our third year here that I felt like I had a good team of people that I had like recruited and trained and really like invested in. And they go like, oh, we get it. And now I've got almost 30 volunteers who are running things. And yeah, so I think that's how I
God, yes.
balance it, I guess. Yeah.
So when you were speaking about creating these sermons for, as you're filling in for your pastor and this 10-week series that you guys are running, you were so excited. You were moving your hands. You had a smile on your face. And then when you transition into talking about the schoolwork that you're doing, and you started
Mm.
talking about at one point you were a one-man band leading it,
Hmm.
you kind of just your expressions just kind of went like down.
Mm.
And I felt
Okay.
a little bit of um, deflation from you, like your energy level just went down.
Mm.
Tell me more about that.
Um, I do, man. I come alive when I teach. Like it is I love it. I served on staff as a youth pastor at a young church plant in West Virginia while my wife was doing medical school. And one of my, one of my favorite things to do in ministry is to prepare talks and teach and encourage and share and teach others to do the same. I really do feel like I come alive, and I do think I sense the presence of God like when I teach. Like I
Mhm.
feel very convinced that the things that I'm saying are not my words, but they're they're God's heart for God's people. And I love that. I think the the downer that you saw when I was talking about school is I feel equally called to this program and to the task of sitting with people on the worst day of their life and being with them and being present and sharing with them the kindness of the Father and the love of Christ and like and doing and carrying that presence with me. I really feel that call. But in these last 2 weeks, I've had to turn in assignments late. I've
Mm.
been like, I mean, the reality was I just had to choose. I'm like, am I going to sleep tonight or am I going to turn this assignment in before the deadline? And I think I chose wisely to sleep a few hours and be present with my kids in the morning. And so I think this week, last 2 weeks, I have not been able to really give school my best. It's
Mm.
kind of gotten the leftovers. Um, and then yeah, working as a one-man band, gee whiz, man, that was exhausting. And I'm very excited that that's no longer the case. But I think in times of stress, I divert back to that, when things are stressful or when I do feel overworked or when I feel like things aren't getting done, I sometimes like revert back to uh functioning as a one man band and kind of running around doing it all. And I said a minute ago, I have a great team, but then there's always that like fear in the back of my mind of
Mhm.
like, but if they blow it, that means I blow it and the whole thing falls apart. And so I think there's probably a little bit of exhaustion that comes from a lack of trust in, if I'm just being totally honest, um, learning to trust people in ministry has been really, really tricky. And I don't know that I've ever really thought about it until just now, but maybe that's why I love teaching so much is because I don't have to rely on anybody. It's
Mm.
like I just get to do it. I get to prepare when I want to prepare, and it's up to nobody but me.
Right.
And I think that might be one of the unhealthy motives for loving teaching is because um, it doesn't require me to do or to really like lean on anybody else.
Tell me more about that.
Um, about the teaching part, or
About you feeling that it's an unhealthy or a go-to um,
mm,
place for you
yeah.
instead of relying on others to receive um, good teaching.
So I guess I I think the work of sanctification in my life has been um learning like of kind of stripping away pride and and serving others, but in a way of kind of like giving away responsibility, giving away opportunities, giving away leadership, giving away um, open doors, pointing open doors to others and encouraging them to walk through instead of running through it myself. And so that heart, that work of saying no to myself so that I can kind of promote and push others forward and up, I feel like is the constant sanctification work that the Lord is doing in me in all areas. And with Young Life, it is forced upon me. I mean, I have to
Mm.
trust others. And when we started, I started a new school a year ago. And in order for me to really focus on that new school, I
Mhm.
had to completely step away from the two schools that I was running and give my full attention here. So what that meant was I had to trust these guys. I had been the one to show up on campus, to get to earn the trust of the principal, to earn the trust of the parents and the dads and the moms and the pastors and the village headmen and all the different places that I had to go to kind of lay the groundwork and then build a ministry and then basically just take it ready made and give it to these young guys who I just had to trust. And I had to say, here you go. Well, then I went to another school to kind of, get the hoe and the plow back out and get right back into the hard
Right.
soil. And so I think like so young life forces me to trust and rely on others. And I think the counseling program has been so good because it's set up to make me a better, like to train me, like I have always loved training. I'm an athlete. I grew up
Mhm.
playing all different kinds of sports. My parents, my dad was in the military.
Right.
Both of my sisters are in the military. Like the idea of like discipline and hard work, like of becoming a better version, a more, the me God kind of created me to be. I love that.
So
And
go ahead. So you value improving yourself constantly through sanctification, through God working in you. And, I see that you're doing this through you building your strengths. You like to teach, you like to serve others, and trusting others with this with the school situation says a lot about you, that you're learning to let go because it's not easy for you to let go. And
mhm,
so at the same time, you feel stressed and exhausted, and you feel overworked. Yet here we are, you trying to juggle all these things.
mhm,
How do you think it can become easier for you so you have more balance and you have time for your schoolwork and you have time for your family and you have time for your teaching and for the school?
mhm,
I mean, you have so many buckets that you're dealing with.
mhm.
How do you think, um, have you thought about that?
Well, this has I um I don't know that easier is an option. Um I don't know that where I'm because my reality is um is not going to change in the next year, you know. Um and I think for me, I think the way that I handle it now, the way that the coping mechanisms and the things that we do now is like every Wednesday night, my wife and I, we go play frisbee with a bunch of friends of ours, and so that fills my cup. And we're both training for a race. There's a race up
Mm,
one of the mountains here that I was telling you about earlier. It's called the
mhm,
Porter's Race. It's like a 25K trail run. And so we're both training for that. And so we make time to do runs together or at different times. She's way faster than me. So I
mhm,
just, we don't run together. We run at
mhm,
different times and spaces. But, um, and then my job, Young Life requires me to take 1 day of solitude a month
mm,
and like record it and submit it to my boss. And so I think that's why I feel so attuned to kind of where I'm at and kind of how I'm feeling because like my wife and I are dedicated and committed to like being in each other's corner. And like last night, we both fell asleep putting the kids to bed at 7:30, but then we woke up at midnight, like, hey, I slept for 4.5 hours. Let's hang out. And so we hung out from like midnight till 3 a.m. and had great conversation and got caught up and made some plans for the summer. And, because she's an emergency medicine doctor,
mm,
her work is insane.
mhm,
Like it's stupid insane here. And and so we really home is a very safe place for us,
mm,
Our home and time with our kids is very valuable and time with each other. And so like so when you say like making it easier, I don't know that like easier is the goal. I think for me, it's like making sure that I am modeling a healthy lifestyle for the people that I'm leading, you know,
mhm,
for my kids, so they don't feel like, well, dad's always at work. you know,
Mhm.
um, for my wife, so she doesn't hate Young Life.
Mhm.
Like I want her to like the work that I do. And for the volunteers that I lead, I want to lead them in a way where if they copy paste my schedule or whatever, like if they grow in leadership in the way that I'm modeling leadership, it would be sustainable, you know? And and I don't know if I'm doing that, you know? I think, yeah, I don't know. Because so basically, when I started this program, it was kind of with the understanding of like, I'm going to submit to this program and to whatever timeline comes with it.
Mhm.
And when the reality sunk in that I could not do practicum and internship here in Malawi, I really thought I was going to be able to.
Mm.
Then my wife and I had a conversation. We're like, we're going to trust that the Lord led me to this program, which we both are convinced that He did. And we're going to trust His timing on moving us back to the US. And so for this season, for these next 12 months, it feels like we're going to put the helmet on, we're going to click in the seatbelt, and we're going to go full speed, and we're going to finish well here in Malawi before we transition back to the US.
Mm.
And so, like, I guess it will be exponentially easier when I'm living in the US
Yes.
because I will not be on Young Life staff. I will not be a part of a preaching team.
Mm.
I will be a stay at home dad doing school while my wife works as an emergency medicine doctor. So there is a little bit of like a finish line to the chaos, you know? Um, and I think right now I want to make sure that the people who I care about and the people that I'm leading, I'm not like dragging them along on this, like, giving everybody whiplash. I want to make sure
Mhm.
I'm fully present with wherever I am, you know?
So when you said, that there was a light at the end of the tunnel or finish line, coming back to the US and finishing your internship over here, you calm down. Your features change. You seem more relaxed, almost like you're able to
Mm-hmm.
breathe. And you're looking forward to that just by looking at your expressions. And so, right now, though, this year that you still have, you feel the pressure of leading all these people that you have under you, whether it's through your teaching, through your Young Life ministry, that you're leading all these volunteers, and you're afraid that you're gonna drag them down. And so the word that comes to my mind, you mentioned being sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to sit with that word for a minute.
Hmm.
Sustainable. You mentioned it more than once, so it means something. You said it. Sustainable
Yeah.
for your staff, sustainable for you. Sit for a minute. What does sustainable look to you right now?
Hmm. So there's a book that I read um called The Emotionally Healthy Leader. I don't know if you've ever read
Mhm.
anything by a guy named Peter Scazzaro, but
Mm.
he's sharp as a tack, and he was a church planner, and he went full speed, planted. I don't know what the number was, but let's say he planted 10 churches in a year,
Mhm.
and then he led those guys, and then they planted in 2 more years. They each multiplied, and so in the matter of like 5 years, there was like almost 100 churches that had been like multiplied out, and everything was like woo. But then at year 7, his marriage was about ready to fall apart.
Mm.
Like his wife hated the ministry. She's like, you have sacrificed, you've built these churches, good for you, but like I feel like I don't know you, and I feel like you don't know
Mm.
me. And so they went to counseling. They kind of kept it under wraps. He didn't want to like make a big like seen about it. But then in years to follow, one after one after one after one of the pastors that he mentored and discipled, every single one of them had their marriages falling apart.
Mm,
Like, and it was one of those things where it's like more is caught than taught, right? Like it doesn't matter what you
mhm,
say with your words, people
mhm,
will watch the way you live your life. And so I think for me that is my goal is to live a life that when people watch it, they say he is he's committed to Jesus, he's committed to his family, he loves his wife, he prioritizes those things and those people, and the rest of it, the chips will fall where they will. And I think for me, that is what sustainable looks like. And I think that's when I think about my kids and their future, and their memories of our time in Malawi, you know, I don't want them to go, oh yeah, dad disappeared all the time doing young life stuff. I want them to really have rich memories of times with high school
mhm,
kids. And, you know, I want the volunteers when they get married, I want them to feel the freedom to prioritize their marriage
mhm,
over, a group of high school kids. And so I've tried really hard to model that and to say that, and I just really hope that that has stuck, but it's one of those things that the proof is in the pudding, and it's impossible to know today
mhm.
where people are going to be in 3 or 4 or 10 years,
Right.
uh, because they followed my example or they followed my
Mhm,
model or and I feel the responsibility of
mhm.
that. And yeah.
So let me ask you, if you were to face and not have the time issue, the time problem seems to be that you have so many jobs that you're running or that you're dealing with, if that were to be solved, what would your life look like if it magically time
I
wasn't
think
an issue?
if time wasn't an issue, well, if the world spun slower, and if there were 32 hours in the day, that would be nice. But no, I think if so I think the thing how I can multiply time, and how I think in a perfect world, in a perfect scenario, um I think I would trust people more. I would hand off I would ask for help more with ministry things. Um, and I would say yes to my family more, and not feel guilty about it, not feel like I was shirking another responsibility. And I think if I had more time, my process group from residency, that back in August, I met this incredible group of humans that we've been doing life together for
Mhm.
almost a year now. And I really value those guys. And I would love to be more present for them and with them. But it's a Marco Polo video, once every 2 weeks, or a voice note on WhatsApp, or, something like that. Um, so I'd love to be more present for them, and also be as a result, be more dialed in and focused on my coursework, and the being able to really not have to watch the videos on time and a half speed, or but really be able to soak it in. So
Okay. So what I hear you say is that your goal is to find balance and to try to find time sustainable for you.
mhm.
Number one, by trusting. others and maybe giving more responsibility to those that
Hmm.
that report to you. And in doing so, that would give you more time to be present with, for example, your process group, and you would be more present or dialed in with your classwork, with your
Hmm.
counseling program. And so this goal of balance is going to take for you to start thinking of your life or your jobs differently right now. So instead of saying, I have to do all these things, I have all these jobs, I have um, the Living Young school program, and I have to teach, and I have to deal with my children, and I have schoolwork, and um, can we say that you are available for what's most important, what takes priority in your
Hmm.
life? Can we say that you are dependable, you are trustworthy, but you don't have to carry the whole world?
Hmm.
Can we see it in that light?
I think it, and I think too, I think that's the, I think that's one of the red flags for me is when a privilege starts to feel like a a weight, where it's like it's a privilege to get to have the incredible family that I do. It's a privilege to get to be going to this school. It's a privilege to that I get to be a part of the teaching team and I get to live in this beautiful, incredible country, And I think just even shifting my attitude from responsibility to opportunity and from like that pressure to, yeah, from almost, I mean, here I am like writing a sermon in my head, right? It's like, oh, it's not pressure, it's privilege, whatever. And so like but yeah, I think when I have a mindset of gratefulness and gratitude, it feels lighter, you know. And yeah, no, for sure. I think I did. I think the beginning of this conversation, I kind of started with like, oh, I have to do,
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
but being able to kind of shift the mindset a little bit and go like, no, I get to, like, yeah, a
And
100%.
and that's because you value, you know, and enjoy your job. You value building people. You value teaching people. You value
Hmm.
creating this sense of community. But at the
Hmm.
same time, you carry this, what sounds like from the beginning of your session, a huge responsibility that you
Hmm.
feel that you have to carry it. And
Hmm.
so, on the one hand, you love the serving and you love the teaching and you love all you're doing, but you feel weighted.
Hmm.
And you feel at times that it's a huge burden or responsibility, and there seems to be an incongruence with balancing
Hmm.
your priorities.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think, it was last week. I had to be gone for about 3 days in another city here in the country. And I wasn't able to take my family. The kids were in school, my wife was working, and so when I came back, my oldest, Ellie, she's like, Dad, next time I want to go. Like, just take me.
Mm.
And, you know, in 2 weeks' time, when I'm taking the leaders and going on that big, like, 4 day hiking, backpacking kind of thing up the mountain, I was talking to my wife and I was like, I want to take Ellie. Like, I want,
Mm.
and she'll be the young, all the other leaders they know her and she knows all of them. And, I think that was, so I'm excited. So I got to talk to Ellie today and I was like, hey, babe, in 2 weeks' time, when school's out, we're going to do this thing. And I want you to come with me up the mountain. And she was like, what? Yeah. She was so excited. So that was, that was fun. That was a win. Looking forward to that.
Just hearing you share that story, I feel that relief in you and that emotional connection to your daughter of actually deviating from your everyday hustle and bustle of the responsibility of all the jobs that you do and say, wait,
Mm-hmm.
this is something I can do for her. And so just right then and there, you mentioned a different possibility, something that, yes, you're still doing your jobs. Yes, you're still following what you need to do, but you're making an exception and you're bringing her to the trip. So I felt a
Mm-hmm.
sense of a little bit of relief. I get to spend
Yeah.
time with my daughter. I get to do this trip. And so what other possibilities could you possibly have right now to lessen your burden or lessen um,
Mm-hmm.
the stress that you're going through?
Yeah, I think um, today is Wednesday, and usually I'm not really starting my homework until the weekends. And
Mhm.
so I think being more disciplined and moving my schoolwork forward in the week, even if it just means, 2 or 3 hours here or 2 or 3 hours there, because trying to work a little bit differently is probably going to be what I need to do. So I think that's one thing. And then I think the other thing too is just um, we have a trip to the US scheduled this in about 4 weeks, less than 4 weeks now. And so that'll just give, the time with family. My wife's grandma passed not
Mm.
long ago. And so we're gonna have the memorial service when we're home. And so like being able to just kind of like unplug from the Malawi responsibilities and still have school. I mean, I still be doing school stuff, but be able to do it in the US and be close to family and have my wife be away from the chaos that is her hospital here. That'll be a we're we we've just said as a family we need that at least once a year, to go back to the US and drink sweet iced tea and eat a Big Mac and like kind of just do the things that are fun. So yeah.
So, those skills that you mentioned are just so important and you're aware of them and you have actually applied them in the past in your life. And so I encourage you to, follow through with them and um, definitely, with the time management, trying to fit homework in is definitely a challenge. And, you're looking forward to this trip to the US and for sure that'll, force you to unplug from your Malawi duties. And so I
Hmm.
think that would be beneficial for you. And so um, I want you to continue to think and be conscious of how else you can balance and how else you can unplug here and there so that you
Hmm.
can energize your life so you can give to your family, you can give to your ministry, to those who you love, to the people you work with, to your wife. And so our session is coming to an end. And I want to thank you for joining me. And I appreciate all you shared with me. And I would like to continue to discuss this balance because I feel like we're barely touching layers of your life that I think we can continue to explore and find out more ways that we can create a plan together.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I really appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you. Okay.
All right. Sweet. So don't stop recording.
No, I'm not. Okay. Discussion time.
Yep.
Okay, so tell me two areas of strength that you found from the session.
Yeah, I think you did a great job of just kind of letting me tell my story. I think when I'm listening, I'm oftentimes like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's interesting." Like I'm like sometimes too much of an active listener. But I thought you were kind of the perfect balance of like steady, calm, warm, welcoming. I felt all of that, and I you know, I felt very comfortable kind of just rolling. And I even was aware, like there was one point I thought like, man, she's really just letting me go with this. Like, and I appreciated that, like I didn't feel cut off. So I thought you did a great job with the story of kind of like letting me roll that out. And then I thought it was very courageous when you tried to like re-story a little bit there towards the
Mhm.
end when you're like, "Hey, I'm hearing you said you have to do this and you have to do that. I want to challenge you." And I don't know which of the I
Yeah.
think it is like a re-story
It is.
section
Yeah.
at stage 4, like
Yeah.
to go like, "Hey, I want you to think about it this way." That was really helpful. Like that was like just genuinely therapeutically helpful for me, to just realize, to kind of hear my voice reflected back to me, was interesting to kind of realize what I had been
Hmm.
saying.
Mm.
And so I thought that was, yeah. And just as another one, I thought you did a great job with the immediacy a couple times. Like you were kind of like, "Hey, this is what I feel watching you do this," which kind of allowed me to tune into a couple of the things. Um, yeah.
Um, were there any responses that you felt understood or were positive?
Um, yeah, I mean, the answer is yes, but I'm trying to think specifics. I think a couple times you talked about like when I valued my family, or the things that I appreciated. I felt like you understood that it wasn't like I was just into like busy work, but that it was valuable things.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes I've talked with friends of mine, they're like, "Well, we'll just stop doing that. Like, it's an easy
Mm-hmm.
decision, just do less." And I'm like, that's not actually the solution here. And so I felt very validated when you were talking. Like I felt like you valued
Mm-hmm.
the things that I value, and that meant a lot.
And that
Yeah.
was hard because that's the instinct. Well, cut it down. You're too busy.
Right.
But I was trying to lead you to find balance within.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was my
yeah.
purpose within your life.
Yeah.
And so, okay.
No, I
And
thought that. Yeah.
okay, were there any responses that were not accurate to what you were experiencing?
So I think the only thing when you kind of ask the question of what would make it easier,
Mm,
you know, and I that one kind of like caught me off guard a little
mhm,
bit, and it was like I was like, I don't think what I want is easier,
mm,
like, and so it was a little bit of, again, it was like it was like you took the
right.
courageous step to like say, "Hey, let's try this question," but and it forced me to entertain it. Like, is that what I
Mm,
want? Like, do I want
mm,
easy? And then it made me go, no, what I want, easy is not what I want. What I
mhm.
want is sustainability,
Yes,
is
that's where we
clear
went into that
vision,
conversation. Right,
clear
right.
future. That was really the bridge that kind of got us into that. So
Hmm.
even though I felt like you missed what I was saying,
Hmm.
it clarified it. Yeah.
Okay. And it led us to a different direction. You're right. Okay. Was there any broken connection that you felt? I mean, obviously that one, like you just mentioned, but that could
Yeah,
have
but
been.
again, but
It
again,
went.
it was like, yeah, it was good. It was good. And then I think just at the end, you were moving some papers around or something. It
Oh
was just
yeah,
a little
sorry.
acting. Like I don't know what was happening. Maybe it got, I don't know.
Yeah, my papers are falling. Sorry.
Yeah, no, but I think that was like, again, I was just
Distractive.
like, yeah, I was, because it made me think like, am I like, what is she writing down? What's on this paper? I thought maybe you were trying to like show me something like, "Hey, wrap
Yeah.
it up,"
Oh,
you know, at one point, but that was obviously
okay.
kind of a small thing. So,
Okay. Well, I think that's it. Do you have anything to add or anything?
No, I mean, I was really impressed with your ability to kind of zero in on some of the skills. I thought you did a really good job with that. And even now, it looks like maybe you have your desktop kind of like lined with
Hmm.
notes, that you're
Hmm.
kind of like was guiding you. I
Hmm.
couldn't tell at all. Like,
Okay.
and so I felt like eye contact was good. It was very, yeah. So if you were using notes
Mhm.
and all that kind of stuff, I couldn't tell. So I felt
Oh,
like you were
good.
very on point, very intentional, and yeah,
And yes, I did have notes, but because I didn't want to forget, but we're
right.
learning. We're learning. Eventually this will become natural to us. And
Eventually, one of these days, one of these days.
well, I appreciate your time and keep juggling and try and find, I mean it. Try to find some
No,
balance in there.
yeah, no, thank you so much. Thank
All
you so
right.
much.
All right.
All
We'll
right,
talk to
well,
you
have a
later.
great
Okay.
rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
All right, bye.